The following video may not be suitable for all younger children. Parental guidance is advised.
Hello and welcome to Sunday Stories for Families. We've got our last week looking at the book of Judges, and we've got a new character. This is baby Samson.
Hi everyone, hi Sam.
Oh, hey Sarah, what are you doing here?
Well, I was wondering who this guy Samson is. I haven't heard of him. Who is he?
Oh, Samson was one of the judges. He was someone God sent to rescue his people, this time from the Philistines, a nation who were ruling over them really badly.
Wow, and Samson, why was he special? Why was he chosen for the job?
Well, God gave him super strength, so he was really strong. And he was also a Nazarite, which means that he was dedicated to God. He was dedicated from birth, so his whole life was dedicated to God.
A Nazarite? What's a Nazarite do?
Well, you're right, they have some rules to follow. So they're not meant to touch dead things. They're not meant to go near vineyards because they're not meant to drink wine or eat grapes. And also, they're not meant to cut their hair.
Right, and Samson was one of these guys, right?
Yeah, Samson was one of them.
And was there any other things that he had to do because he was one of God's people?
Oh yeah, God's people had a few other rules. Like they weren't meant to marry outside of God's people in case they started worshipping other gods, which would be really bad.
That would be bad. It would be terrible if Samson was to break some of these rules and not follow God.
Yeah, it would be really bad. And actually, he might do that. We'll see in our story. And you at home, I want you to see if you can spot which rules Samson breaks as we go through the story together. Oh, a vineyard. I think I hear a lion. Oh look, that lion! It's got some honey inside. Oh, wow. You look so beautiful.
Congratulations!
Have you seen at home which rules Samson has been breaking? Sarah, have you seen?
Yeah, I've been watching. He's really breaking a lot of them. He went to the vineyard, so he ate some grapes or wine. And after that, he ate honey out of a dead lion. And he's not meant to touch dead animals. And I saw as well, he married a woman who wasn't part of God's people.
Yeah, he married a Philistine, which are the people that God's meant to be rescuing Israel from. It's not going well, is it? In fact, he's only got one rule left. He's not yet cut his hair.
Well, let's keep watching and see what happens next.
910, 911, 912, 913.
Wow, you're so strong, Samson. Can you tell me why?
No. 917, 918, 2,223, 2,224, 2,220.
Samson, you're so strong. Where do you get your strength from?
I can't tell you. Oh, I'm going to have to start again. 1, 2, 3.
Samson, I don't think that you love me, because if you did, then you'll tell me where you get your strength from.
But I do love you, Delilah. Oh, okay, I'll tell you. You see, I'm a Nazarite. I've been dedicated to God from birth, and no one's ever cut my hair. But if they did, I'd be just as weak as any other man.
Oh, well, now I know that you do love me.
Ah, that's great. I'm going to go to sleep, Delilah. It's been a long day.
Night.
Come and get him! I've got his hair!
Ryan, what have you done?
No!
Gouge out his eye!
Not so strong anymore! Wow. Delilah was not a nice person.
No, well, she was a Philistine, so she was an enemy of Samson. She really wanted Samson to fail, and she really wanted him to lose his strength. She didn't love him at all.
But what happens next to Samson?
Well, those men, they take Samson and they take out his eyes so he can't see, and they make fun of him, and they tie him up in a palace to some pillars that hold the palace up, and inside the palace there's thousands of Philistines.
Wow. Let's see what happens next.
Lord, remember me. Give me strength once more. Let me get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes.
So, Samson died?
Yeah, Samson died, but God used Samson's death to save his people, the Israelites, from the Philistines.
But I don't really get it. Samson had broken all of God's rules. He hadn't followed God.
Yeah, Samson is not a good role model. God's people are meant to be holy, which means they're meant to be different from others. They're meant to be good. But even though Samson was so bad, God could still use him to bring about his plan. He could still use Samson to rescue his people from the Philistines.
Hi everyone, my name's Liv and we're going to sing a song together about our holy God who welcomes us in as friends when we trust in Jesus. This is a call and response song, but I don't have anyone here to help me, so when I sing a line, you're going to sing it back to me really loudly. Are you ready? God is a holy God. God is a holy... Where did that come from? Oh, hi Alana.
Hi, Liv.
Great to have you here.
I thought I'd just pop in and help with the call and response.
Awesome, thanks. Well, everyone, follow Alana. God is a holy God. God is a holy God. We can't be friends because of our sin. We can't be friends because of our sin. God is a holy God. God is a holy God. We can't be friends because of our sin. We can't be friends because of our sin. Jesus died to wash us clean. When we put our trust in Him, God opens His arms and welcomes us in. God opens His arms and welcomes us in. God is a holy God. God is a holy God. We can't be friends because of our sin. We can't be friends because of our sin. God is a holy God. God is a holy God. We can't be friends because of our sin. We can't be friends because of our sin. Jesus died to wash us clean. When we put our trust in Him, God opens His arms and welcomes us in. God opens His arms and welcomes us in. Thanks for helping us, Alana.
You're welcome.
Hi everyone. Now it's time for our Bible reading. Today's true story from the Bible comes from the book of Judges, from chapters 13 through to chapter 16. Now we're just going to read the beginning and the end of this story. But if you have a Bible at home, maybe you want to read the whole story later yourself. But we're going to start at Judges chapter 13, verse 1. Again, the people of Israel did what the Lord said was wrong. So He let the Philistines rule over them for 40 years. There was a man named Manoah from the city of Zorah. Manoah was from the tribe of Dan. He had a wife, but she could not have children. The angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife. He said, "You have not been able to have children, but you will become pregnant and have a son. Don't drink wine or beer. Don't eat anything that is unclean. You will become pregnant and have a son. You must never cut his hair because he is a Nazirite. He will be given to God from birth. He will begin the work of saving Israel from the power of the Philistines." So in the next part of the story, we learn about this baby, Samson, who grows up to be one of God's servants. He married a woman, but she was a Philistine, which meant she wasn't one of God's people, and that was against God's law. And Samson did lots of other things that he shouldn't do. Can you remember what some of them were from the drama earlier? And after that, he fell in love with another woman called Delilah. Now, Delilah wanted to find out where Samson got his amazing strength from. So she pestered him and she pestered him, and eventually he gave in, and he told her that his strength came from his hair. And then guess what happens? Do you remember? Delilah cut his hair off and he lost his strength. And because Samson lost his strength, he was captured by his enemies, the Philistines. Okay, so I hope you got all that from the drama. We're going to carry on the story from the Bible now, looking at Judges chapter 16, and we're going to start at verse 23. This is what happens to Samson at the end of the story. The kings of the Philistines gathered to celebrate. They were going to offer a great sacrifice to their god Dagon. They said, "Our God has given us Samson, our enemy." When they saw him, they praised their God. They said, "This man destroyed our country. He killed many of us, but our God helped us capture our enemy." The people were having a good time at the celebration. They said, "Bring Samson out to perform for us." So they brought Samson from the prison. He performed for them. They made him stand between the pillars of the temple of Dagon. A servant was holding his hand. Samson said to him, "Let me feel the pillars that hold up the temple. I want to lean against them." Now the temple was full of men and women. All the kings of the Philistines were there. There were about 3,000 men and women on the roof. They watched Samson perform. Then Samson prayed to the Lord. He said, "Lord God, remember me. God, please give me strength one more time. Let me pay these Philistines back for putting out my 2 eyes." Then Samson held the 2 central pillars in the temple. These 2 pillars supported the whole temple. He braced himself against the 2 pillars. His right hand was on one, his left hand was on the other. Samson said, "Let me die with these Philistines." Then he pushed as hard as he could, and the temple fell on the kings and all the people in it. So Samson killed more Philistines when he died than when he was alive. Samson's brothers and his whole family went to get his body. They brought him back and buried him in the tomb of Manoah, his father. That tomb is between the cities of Zorah and Eshtaol. Samson was a judge of the people of Israel for 20 years.
God chooses imperfect people sometimes to accomplish his plans. We've been seeing that over the last few weeks. With Ehud, it was his physical weakness. With Gideon, it was both that he was scared and cowardly, but also that he was too proud. With Samson, it's that he just kept on sinning again and again. But despite these problems, God still used these imperfect judges to rescue his people. That's because God will always accomplish his plans. even though we sin. We often mess up and sin too, just like Samson. Even those people who have trusted in Jesus for a really long time, they still mess up and sin. I'm sure you sin often too. I know that I do. Sometimes it's because we try and push the boundaries as far as possible. We try and get away with as much as we can. Other times we know what the right thing to do is, but we don't work hard enough to fight the temptations, and we give in far too easily. But even though we sin, God can still use us for his plans. Just like the judges, they weren't perfect, but God still used them to rescue his people. And God can use us, imperfect people, to accomplish his plans too. Samson was very sinful, but God still used him to rescue his people. And Samson points forward to an even better rescuer, who saved his people not just for a little while, but for all time. Samson points forward to Jesus. Jesus came to rescue people like Samson. But unlike Samson, Jesus never sinned. He never gave up. He always said no to different temptations. We shouldn't try to be like Samson, but we should try to be like Jesus. And when we try our best to be like Jesus, we will still mess up and sin. But that's okay. Jesus has said that he will give us his perfect life, and that he will take our imperfect, sinful lives upon himself if we ask him, so that we don't have to be punished by God for the bad things that we have done. How awesome is that? You can spend some more time now with your families talking about Samson. Have a look in the description below and you'll find some questions that will help you to dig deeper. Well, that's the end of this week's Sunday Stories for Families. It's been so great to have you here with us. If you join us next week, we'll be starting a new book. We'll be looking at the book of Mark from the Bible, and we'll be learning lots more about Jesus together. See you next week. Goodbye.